Rahul sat on the edge of his bed in the dim morning light, staring at the cracked wall in front of him. The silence of the small house felt heavier than usual. At 25, he once believed life would already be settled, but reality had been different. Repeated failures in interviews and small attempts at work had slowly broken his confidence. Each rejection had added a new layer of doubt inside him. Yet that morning, something felt slightly different, as if his thoughts were beginning to shift, even if he could not understand how. In the kitchen, his mother, 50 years old, was preparing tea with calm hands. She had spent her entire life sacrificing her comfort for her family, never complaining even when times were hard. His father, 55, was getting ready for another day of labor work, his face showing years of struggle but also quiet strength. Their life had never been easy, yet they never stopped moving forward. Rahul walked into the kitchen slowly. His mother looked at him carefully, noticing the tiredness in his eyes. She placed a cup of tea in front of him without saying anything at first. Then softly she asked if he had slept at all. Rahul shook his head and admitted that his mind was too full of thoughts about failure and future. His father, adjusting his worn shirt, listened quietly and then said that failure only means the method is wrong, not the person. Those words stayed in the air longer than expected. After his father left for work, Rahul stood near the window, watching the street outside. Life was moving normally for everyone else, but inside him, something was slowly breaking and rebuilding at the same time. He opened an old notebook filled with past plans and unfinished ideas. For the first time, instead of feeling defeated, he started analyzing his mistakes. He realized he had been repeating the same approach again and again, expecting different results. His mother sat beside him and gently placed her hand on his shoulder. She told him that life does not change when we only dream. It changes when we understand direction. Rahul stayed silent for a moment, absorbing her words. Inside his mind, a small realization began to grow. Maybe he was not completely failing. Maybe he was simply not changing his approach. That thought did not solve everything, but it gave him something he had almost lost: hope to try again with a different understanding of life and himself. Rahul's mind kept repeating the same thoughts even after his small realization from the previous day. The night had passed, but the weight inside him had not fully gone away. When he woke up that morning, something felt heavier than usual. Not because of failure alone, but because now he was aware of how long he had been stuck in the same pattern without noticing it. His mother, 50 years old, noticed the silence in him again. She had seen many phases of his struggle, but this one felt different. Earlier he used to express frustration, sometimes anger, sometimes disappointment. But now he was quiet in a way that felt deeper, like he was thinking about something bigger than just a single rejection. His father, 55, left early for work as always, carrying the same routine of hard labor. Before leaving, he only said one thing to Rahul: "Don't just think about where you failed. Think about why you stopped learning after failing." That sentence stayed with Rahul long after his father had gone. After breakfast, Rahul sat alone in his room. For the first time, he did not open job portals immediately. Instead, he opened his old notes, certificates, and practice materials. He started reviewing everything he had done in the past 2 years. Slowly, a painful truth began to appear in front of him. He had been applying again and again without upgrading his actual skills properly. He was trying, but not evolving. This realization did not make him happy. In fact, it made him uncomfortable, because now he understood that part of his failure was not luck, but his own lack of direction. For a moment, he closed his eyes and leaned back. The room felt smaller than before, as if the walls were pressing closer. His mother entered the room quietly and sat beside him. She did not ask what he was doing. She simply watched him for a few seconds and then asked, "Are you angry at yourself?" Rahul hesitated before answering. "Not angry, just disappointed that I didn't see this earlier." His mother nodded slowly. Understanding late is still better than never understanding at all. Those words softened something inside him. But the emotional pressure was not gone. It had only changed shape. Days passed like this. Rahul started changing small things. He began learning new skills instead of only applying. He watched tutorials, practiced interviews, and tried to improve his communication. But progress was slow, and slow progress often feels like no progress at all. That is where his emotional struggle deepened. There were nights when he would sit alone and think, what if it is still not enough? Even after trying harder, doubt still followed him. He would look at his father returning tired from work and feel guilty for not being successful yet. He would look at his mother hiding her worries behind a calm face and feel pressure building inside his chest. One evening, something broke inside him emotionally. After receiving another rejection email, Rahul did not react like before. He did not throw his phone or express anger. He simply sat still, completely still. His eyes stared at the screen, but his mind felt empty. This silence was more painful than sadness. His mother saw him like that and sat beside him without speaking. After a long silence, Rahul finally said in a low voice, "I am trying everything, but maybe I am just not meant for this." His mother gently held his hand. "No, Rahul, you are just in the part of your story where nothing makes sense yet." Those words did not remove his struggle, but they stopped him from falling further into hopelessness. The next morning, his father called him outside. They walked together slowly on the quiet street. His father pointed toward different people around them: a shopkeeper opening his store, a worker cleaning the road, a student rushing to school. He said, "Everyone you see is fighting a battle you cannot see. Your struggle is not special, but your response to it will be." Rahul listened carefully. For the first time, he did not feel alone in failure. He felt like he was part of something larger, something human. Still, the emotional weight remained. Growth was happening, but slowly, painfully, like a seed trying to break through hard soil. And Rahul was still in that breaking point, where change had begun, but success was still far away. Rahul returned home that evening with a quieter mind than before, but not a lighter heart. The world outside had continued as usual. People laughing, working, living, but inside him, everything felt like it was still under construction. He had started learning, improving, changing his approach, yet the results had not started showing. And that gap between effort and outcome was slowly testing his patience. His father, 55, noticed that Rahul was not speaking much during dinner. He had seen this phase before in life, when a person begins to grow, but the world has not yet caught up to reflect that growth. After finishing his meal, his father looked at him and said calmly, "The hardest part of any journey is not starting. It is continuing when nothing around you changes." Rahul listened, but did not respond immediately. His mind was still, filled with doubt. He had been rejected again recently, and even though he was trying to improve, the fear of failure had not fully left him. He looked at his father and finally asked, "How do I know I am not wasting my time again?" His father leaned back slightly and replied, "You are wasting time only if you stop learning. If you are learning, then even failure is part of progress." That night, Rahul could not sleep. He kept thinking about everything: his past failures, his current efforts, and his uncertain future. At one point, he even sat near the window, staring outside at the quiet street. The same question kept returning to his mind. What if he tries everything and still does not succeed? But this time, something inside him answered differently. Not with fear, but with calm resistance. A thought formed slowly. Maybe success is not a single destination, but a result of continuous adjustment. Days turned into weeks. Rahul continued improving himself. He practiced speaking, worked on his skills, and started approaching opportunities differently. He stopped applying blindly and started analyzing what each role required. The change was not dramatic, but it was real. Slowly, he began to understand that growth is not always visible immediately, but it is always happening beneath the surface. His mother watched him during this phase with quiet pride. She never pushed him, never rushed him, but always supported him with silent belief. Sometimes she would simply place a cup of tea next to him while he studied and say nothing. That silence itself became a form of encouragement. One day, Rahul received another interview call. But this time, something was different. He was not the same person who used to walk in with fear and uncertainty. He had prepared, not just to answer questions, but to understand the role, the company, and himself. When the interview ended, he did not feel overconfident, but he did not feel broken either. He simply felt steady. A few days later, he received a message. This time, it was not a rejection. It was an offer. Rahul stared at the screen for a long moment, unable to react immediately. It was not just a job offer. It felt like a confirmation that his changes were finally starting to matter. When he told his parents, his mother's eyes filled with quiet emotion, and his father simply placed his hand on Rahul's shoulder and said, This is not luck. This is the result of not giving up. Rahul finally understood something deeply that day. Life had never been against him. It had only been waiting for him to change the way he fought it. And in that realization, he found the true meaning of the line his father once said. Every problem in life has one solution. Sometimes, that solution is not outside the world. It is inside the way you choose to respond. Just before leaving for his first day at work, Rahul stood outside his home and looked back at the two people who had never stopped believing in him, his parents. He smiled and said, "I thought success would change my life, but now I realize that changing myself changed everything." His father nodded with pride, and his mother's eyes filled with tears of joy. Rahul then turned toward the road ahead, not because every problem in his life had disappeared, but because he had learned that every problem carries a solution for those who refuse to quit searching. So, if you are watching this today and life feels unfair, remember this: your story is not over. The chapter you are living right now may be painful, but it is not the final chapter. Keep learning, keep improving, keep moving forward. One day, you will look back and realize that the obstacle you once hated became the reason you discovered your true strength. Every problem in life has one solution, but only those who keep walking long enough get the chance to find it.